Hey, what's up? It's livingstoniv, here to show you a YouTube video on how to make a multi-stock ticker database that exports all the data to a SQLite database and gets all the tickers from the Dow Jones Index and the S&P 500 as well as the SPY. So I commented out all the code. Basically, I'll go through it step by step and show you how to do it. And yeah, let's get to it. So the first thing you want to do is create a virtual environment if you're working on VS Code, which is what most people work on, but on some other applications for coding, IDEs, so to speak, it's easier to import packages, but this is how you do it on VS Code. So write Python, and then you write -m, then you write virtual environment. This stands for virtual environment, the VENV, and then you type in VENV. This is the name of your virtual environment. And yep, right here it shows that it was created, and you hit yes right here to select it as your workspace folder. Then you're going to want to activate that virtual environment by writing source and then the name of your virtual environment, bin activate, and voila, you've activated your virtual environment. Alright, so most of these modules that you'll be using to create this program are already pre-installed on Python, but we're going to install yfinance and then pandas, just because those are not pre-installed onto Python 3.9 or whatever it is at this point. Alright, so pip3, actually, you know what, you could probably just write pip, it probably doesn't matter. Pip install yfinance. It's collecting, it's downloading, it's getting all that good stuff so it can function properly. And almost, it's done. Alright, cool. Now let's see if the problem still persists. yfinance. Yep, because you don't have to download pandas, because I'm pretty sure that pandas comes with yfinance, so yeah. Alright, so we have yfinance, which is the module that we will use to retrieve the stock data from each ticker. Pandas, which we use to export the data to a SQLite database, SQLite database. SQLite 3, which is used for the connection to the database, which will be how we export the data to the database. And then datetime, import datetime, date, time delta. I don't think the time delta is really that important, but yeah, I think the date, time, and date are so we can mark down the date that it was entered in, but I don't think that'll be necessarily important considering it's a historical database. Alright, so we have wiki, this variable right here, which is essentially the root URL to the Wikipedia homepage, which will have the list of all the tickers. We have tickers down, which uses the root URL of Wikipedia to connect the Dow Jones Industrial Average Wikipedia page, which will be used to and then this right here is the index, which is the index of all the symbols in the list on the Wikipedia page. And then this right here converts the symbol to a list, which we can use to iterate through in the future progression of the code. Alright, so tickers SB, this is the same thing as the tickers Dow, it's just for the S&P 500. Gets all the good data we need. And this is just to get the historical data of the SPY, because a lot of people like trading it. It's a fun option to trade, as well as stock, I suppose. Alright, now, I don't think that this is really important, so I'm just going to delete this for now, just in case it's not important. I don't think it is, really. Alright, so this right here also isn't as important. It would only be important if you were going to create a while loop to constantly gather the data, in which case you would write something like while run equals true, and then you would indent all this code below it so that it constantly runs and iterates through each ticker constantly. But that's not really that important considering all this data is historical daily data. So if you were running like an intraday data base or whatever, that would be a little more important to gather the intradaily data. But you also wouldn't need to necessarily do that for that case. It'd be more if you were doing like collecting data on like seconds, each second of each ticker. But I don't think that is really that important for most cases. All right, so this is the main kind of like core of the code. This right here creates a function where we use we get the tickers. You'll see how this plays into account later. It's a function that we'll use to essentially gather all the data, all the tickers from the Dow and the S&P and the SPY. This for loop, oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention, these are empty lists which we'll use to append the data to, so we can create a data frame. This right here, for tickers and tickers, basically this iterates through each ticker and the tickers, which down here where we call the function gathers all of this data for each ticker from each index. So for ticker and tickers, data.append essentially appends data to the empty list to this function, this method right here, the yf.download, which downloads all the historical stock price data for each ticker. As we have ticker and tickers, it's gathering each historical stock price data set for each ticker. Then we use this reset index because we don't want the we don't want each row that we gather data on to be numbered, because if you don't use this reset index function, then it'll essentially create a separate column where it numbers each and every entry of the database, which we don't want. So, and then right here we have Dow, SP, SPY. These are variables which we'll use in the future for this function call right here, which is the function call that we will use to export the data to the SQL database. This essentially stores the calling of the function for each index, so that this code right here runs, and then it gets data for each ticker in each index, which an index is like the Dow Jones, the S&P 500. This is the only one that is not an index. It's just getting data for the SPY. And like I said, that might be something you want to look into if you're trading options or stocks or whatever. So anyways, right here, this con or whatever you want to call it, essentially it's a variable that will store the connection to the database that we'll be using. If you haven't already created a database, then it'll most likely create one in this folder where you keep the main.py file. So yeah, this is just connecting to the database or creating a database if you don't already have a database created. And this is the function toSQL, which is essentially a function that'll hold the frames, which is each collection of data in the Dow, SP, SPY, and then each ticker. That's why they have symbols right here to represent the tickers, each individual ticker of each index, and then the connection to the database, so we can export that data to the database. So right here we have another for loop like we had above, and this essentially is saying for each frame and symbol in zip frame symbols, which is the variables we used for the function methods, or parameters I should say, sorry, not methods. It's essentially iterating through each frame, which is essentially the essentially a table in the database. Like you'll see here in a second, each table in this database that we're creating will be separated by the ticker name. So like Apple, AAPL, Dow, DOW, stuff like that. It's essentially creating the name in the table for each database. And this right here symbol will be the ticker. It'll be the data. It'll be the parameter that calls the data for each ticker, and as well as the name of the table, just like the frame. So basically, it's iterating through each frame and symbol in the frame and symbols function, which you'll see how that plays out here in a second. So then for each frame symbol and frame symbols, we'll use the frame, which is essentially each ticker, and we'll export that to SQL. The frame is essentially all the historical stock price data for each ticker, each individual ticker, that is. So we're getting the data frame to SQL, which is a method that exports a data frame to SQL. Then we wrote symbol here to kind of automate the naming process of each table. This right here is the name of the table that the frame is exporting to SQL. So symbol, it'll be the ticker symbol plus underscore price underscore data. So when you export this, it'll be like AAPL underscore price underscore data. It'll be that way for each and every ticker in the Dow Jones and S&P 500, as well as the SPY, the Standard & Poor's Index. So this right here is just calling the connection to the database. It's a required variable for each toSQL function or method. And this index false, it's kind of like the reset index method. The index equals false is just so that we don't have a automatic column in our data tables that number each and every row of the database tables. So anyways, if exists equals append. This essentially means that when you add new data to the table, it'll append that data to the table in the database. And you could also use like replace, but we won't be doing that because that'll replace old data with new data, which we don't want. And then this print function will just let you know that you've successfully imported the data. And then this right here is where you call the function, which runs all of this code in this function, and then uses our predetermined variables such as Dow, tickers Dow, and connection to run this code, basically putting each ticker into its own table in the database, and then establishing the connection to that database. And it does this for both the Dow, the S&P 500, and the SPY. So let's run this code and see how it does. Running right now. You should see if you've gotten this far in the code and you've written everything correctly, you should see something like this come up. It's like a loading screen almost that tells you when each ticker has been collected. Right, here we go. So it says 1 of 1 complete. This essentially is gathering this. Each one of these is a collection of historical price data for each ticker in the Dow, S&P, and SPY. So this could take a little while. I'm gonna skip ahead in the video where it's finished, and I'll show you the end product. And we'll see how you like it. Yeah. All right, take 2. I apologize in advance. My room's kind of a mess. I don't have like a backdrop or anything set up yet. Maybe I'll get to that point. Maybe I'll get a fancier camera and better like a better setting for recording. But for now, I'm just working with what I've got. Like anybody does. We all just work with what we got. So yeah. Also apologize in advance if my explanation of certain things in this video is a little off. I try my best to explain each part of this code, but sometimes I fumble my words a little bit, and maybe get a little off track, but I hope that this has been easy for you to understand and that you can follow this code so far, and you're following what I'm saying. You're positing what I'm depositing, and I hope if you have any questions, just post them in the comments, and I'll see if I can answer them. You could also hit me up on like Instagram or Twitter or whatever, and I'll do what I can to help walk you through any parts you're having trouble with. And I think a big part of computer science is the community involved with it, and we all like to help each other out. And oh, would you look at that? It successfully imported the data, and as you can see, these two files right here were not here beforehand. And what is this anyways? Oh, okay, I guess that wasn't important. Can I redo that? Okay, never mind. Anyways, so it created a database through the connection, and this is the name of the database. As you can see, it's right here. Let's take a look at it. If you haven't downloaded it yet, I would recommend getting DB Browser for SQLite. It's a really good interface for SQLite databases. I'll show you how this works. So you click on DB Browser for SQLite, and then you're going to want to hit Open Database, and then you're going to want to go to wherever you have the database, which is in this file, as you can see, this folder, as you can see, which also has the main Python file. Let's open it. So as you can see, this has created individual tables for each ticker, which has, let's browse the data, which has the date of the data, the open of the day, the high of the day, the low of the day, the close of the day, the adjusted close, and the volume of the day. So let me just go back to this really quick. This part right here. So does it make sense now when I say frame to SQL? It's essentially, this right here is like a data frame. Each table is basically like a data frame. And in the data frame is what we get from this code, where we gather all the data for each ticker and then append it to the empty list. Basically, so, and then this part right here, the symbol plus price data. As you can see, each table is named by the symbol or the ticker of the stock, and then it has this little price data section added to it. We just do that because we want to name it by price data or something similar to identify that it's price data, because we might add other things to our database later on, like option chain data or fundamental data, stuff like that. This essentially just makes it easier to kind of differentiate the type of table it is and what kind of data we're holding. Price data, yeah. So there you have it. That's how you make a database, an SQLite database for all the tickers in the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P 500, as well as the SPY. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you want to see more from me. I'll be posting a lot of financial programming tutorials and whatnot. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I was easy to understand. I hope that you understood most of what I was saying, and you can, if not, at least copy this code and understand it as you use it for your own purposes, or maybe portfolio purposes or whatever. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll post the GitHub link in my description, and you'll be able to see the full code when it's finished, just so you can reference to it, because I know sometimes following video tutorials is easy to make mistakes or like flub up a specific like line of code or whatever, and then once you do that, it's like almost impossible to find out what you did wrong. But it's not. Otherwise, there would be no good coders. So I hope you liked it. Like I said, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you want to see more. I'll leave the GitHub link in the description, and yeah, follow me on Twitter, Instagram. I'm sexy schizo at Instagram, and then sexy_schizo. It might also be sexy-schizo at Twitter. And yeah, hope you enjoyed it. So yeah, that'll be it. Have a good day. Have a blessed day, and happy coding to y'all.